Welcome, everybody, to MixLife 45. No expectations episode.
Just keep your hopes very low and you'll be less disappointed.
Yeah, we're we're going we're going low bar, and then we're going to exceed expectations, hopefully. But start with none.
No, so we've meticulously prepared for today's show. Obviously.
Let's see
Got
for
all
the
that worked out.
we got a viewer or two. Hey, everybody, all six of you. Big growing time. Oh, hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Hope you've been mixing some good stuff. Let's talk about what you've been mixing. You get any new flavors you've been playing with?
I have got a ton of new flavors and I have been trying to clear the decks so I can officially play with them. Last week got a whole bunch of Ape Train stuff in, got a whole bunch of Decadent Vapor stuff in. Really interested in all of it, but I'm trying to work through my testing backlog right now. I have a bunch of creams and custards from Flavor Revolution, that Nicotine River exclusive brand that I'm trying to kind of knock out here. And I don't know, single flavor testing creams and custards isn't necessarily my favorite thing. So I set like 5 of them up in a row. But I think after that, I'm going to be digging into some of the new stuff.
So when you're single flavoring like a custard, how long do you steep it out before you test it?
As long as possible. For the custards, I try to get damn near close to a month. For the creams, I'll do some of the lighter creams. I mean, after 2 weeks, you know. But for the custards, I try to give them a month. I don't know. I have a feeling that other people like custards a lot more than I do, so I not necessarily the first thing I go for doing single flavor tests. I figure other people have a better grasp on them, but nobody else was doing the Flavor Revolution stuff, so we'll see if it's some kind of like silver bullet for vanilla custard. I'm basically whelmed right now by the creams and custards. Their creams, so their custards may be okay.
So no expectations on their creams and custards.
I'm whelmed so far.
Not under,
Yeah,
not over.
their normal cream was kind of blah. Their vanilla cream is decent. Their sweet cream is pretty good. So who knows with the custards? They could turn out to be a surprise hit. But I've also got the Capella tobaccos that I need to test too. Those have been steeping for like a month, and I have no idea what kind of fresh hell I'm in for with that. But hopefully they should be fun.
Let me see. Is it switching now? They're saying it's stuck on Ron Jeremy's camera. That's your new nickname.
Yeah, nobody could have been just stuck on me because I just ran it for like 3 minutes without making eye contact with anything.
Look at my eyes. Yeah, if you see it, like Rafi from the league. You ever watch the league?
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I saw you comparing me to him on my worst days, so we'll see.
If you're looking for something funny and offensive, watch the compilation of Rafi from the league. Like the show itself was okay, but his scenes are out there. What do I got Decadent Vapors. We're going to be testing some of their stuff. They're kind of a premium flavoring line out of Chef's. And it was some of the first stuff I tried from Chef's about a year and a half ago. And they have like an Orangella, which we didn't, I don't think we got one of those in these testers, but it's similar to like an Orangiana. If you ever had that drink, it comes in like a glass bottle.
Yeah, that orange Jella, orange Yeah, that just sounds weird, but it's a great single flavor.
Orangiana.
Orgiana, there we go.
Or they call it Orangella, you're right. But it tastes like Orangiana. Orangella. It's got a little more bite than a lot of the oranges without being harsh. So it's a good flavor. And then they had one called Adder Rose, which is just awesome. And then they discontinued it. But Coupel was saying that they have a Turkish Delight, which is very close. So I'm interested in that.
I'm also interested in their Crystal Blue because it's so rare. I get to vape something that's absolutely full of food coloring. So that's super fun.
Yeah, that's like feedback number one for them. I'd say is like kill the colors because they had two that I could tell. If you look at the bottom of the bottles, they're dark, but you can kind of still see the coloring in them. And I was like, what are they thinking? I pretty much halved it out. I found, we got a sampler of them, and half of them are really intriguing. They have a mojito that just smells really, really nice. And then they have what's it called? Like lime. It's a lime one that's green.
They have blue limey, I think,
Blue,
is one of them that is.
oh yeah, so blue. It's a blue lime. And then I'm looking to make something with that and the mojito together, kind of like a lime spritzer type of thing. I think that'll be good. Blue limey, yeah, that one intrigued me.
Their cola. Koppel's been screwed around with their cola because you give Koppel anything, the first thing he does is test out the cola. He says their cola is pretty good, so I'm looking forward to messing around with that one. And it's always nice to have more of their absinthe. It's funny, their absinthe is absolutely phenomenal, but I get this hellacious throat hit from it that like nobody else does. Beautiful stuff though. Like it absolutely shames all of the other absinthes on the market. And I think that's one of them that they claim is like made from actual things themselves. So I don't know. It's good stuff.
And I made a tester. That's what this is. And like day one, it was fucking too much. I went. It's the creme anglaise, which I really like. It's like a creamy vanilla type of custardy thing, but it doesn't have that vanilla custard capella feel to it. It's more like a deeper version of, probably like flavor art custard or TPA custard. So it's nice. I like the smell on it. So I use that as a base. And then I did their red mix, which I like too. It's a tobacco, but I put too much of it, and then I put too much of the Brazilian coffee. So day one, I just hated this thing. But after like 2 or 3 days of steep, it's kind of come together to be a little bit better. But I was hate vaping it on day one. So there's definitely promise to these. Us being in the U.S., we haven't ever really messed with them except for kind of the boutique ones that we had to get, like Dandelion and Burdock and Adder Rose. But I like some of the new ones I got too. So it's definitely something that we're going to be mixing with, and it's got promise.
Yeah, and Koppel and I have been going over their drop-ins too, which are interesting. I don't know. The flavors are generally pretty good. I'll actually like write up and probably actually like record some video reviews going into them a little bit more. But I kind of dig the style. I mean, there's nowhere you're going to see that I have the world's worst fucking internet connection, but the labels are absolutely beautiful. They're short fills, and then the cool thing is, when I got them, I was just pissed off because it's almost impossible to get the lid off one of those chubby unicorn bottles. But
you gotta like take a wrench, you gotta take pliers to it. Is the only way to get the big round ones off.
So I was like super like upset that they were the chubby gorillas. But turns out
Just like
the actual drip, the actual tip just lifts right out.
what are they? This one? Like,
No, they're the big fat round ones, but the actual like pour spout lifts right out and gives you a
us,
hole in the middle, and then you can just
that,
put the pour spout back in.
yeah, they call that like version 2.
Yeah. So that was cool. I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised with that. I was about ready to like preemptively throw stuff across the room, but it's nice that the pour spout
Yeah, like
comes out.
I placed a knife one time on the edge, and I just like was like, nah, I'm not gonna do this. Trying to pop the original ones out, I was like, nah, there's gotta be another way. Yeah, chubby gorillas, I hate them. They're like,
I don't understand how they got to be the de facto standard.
yeah, they're just like they just like phoned in everything. But I mean, they're better than glass drippers, I guess. But they're also awful for so many reasons. Like, I mean, I thought I was like me, and then I put a post on DIY, and I was like, these things drip all over me, and everyone's like, me too. And I was like, all right, this isn't just me being reckless, but like if you're dripping in like an RDA, you're dripping on everything because it pools right here, and then when you go to pour, that single drop will drop everywhere. See, okay, so dries. Maybe that's the name. Saying that's the standard is the one you have that they're
Yeah.
using.
And I was just saying it doesn't take all that much to impress me, and I was definitely impressed with that top thing. Like it blew my mind because I was ready for like sheer brain melting frustration. I was just like, oh well, that's handy. Oh, but it should be fun all around. I don't know. I like the Decadent Vapor stuff. Their drop-ins so far have been pretty aggressively flavored, I think is the polite way to say it. So I don't know. I feel like I could cut them down to about half and still get vapable juice, but they've been working decently in like a sub tank that doesn't have like particularly intense flavor. They actually work pretty well there. So
Yeah, I mean, I just off smell test, I think I don't know how many I got, like 20 of them, and then I couldn't get into like 3 of the bottles because they just said like got looped. Did you see that too? That like did any of your bottles the caps not come off?
yeah, you kind of gotta you. I don't know. One of them I had to like press down and like crunch in while giving it my modicum of strength. It was pretty intense.
See, I have 3 or 4 that I'm so intrigued with. They went in the to try section, even though I can't get the cap off. And usually I'll just trash the bottle if I can't get into it. Like not throw it away, but it goes in the trash drawer. Everyone should have a trash drawer. It'll make you feel better when you spend money on shitty flavors. But then, I'll go back to that drawer and be like completely wrong half the time. So, but it's good for you to have a drawer in which you kind of get rid of flavors that you're not feeling, because then you're not going to accidentally grab it thinking it'll work.
Oh, the entire point, Graham, is that we are phoning it in today.
Yeah, this is the best you're gonna get.
You're getting the bare minimum.
We're not doing liquor reviews, all right? So there's that.
I am a little excited though. I was watching the chat and Jen said that their Long Island iced tea was good, but it had the alcohol notes. Like that's exactly what I'm out of. I like out for when it comes to like liquor based concentrates. That's generally like what I'm missing is, those boozy notes. So I'm psyched for that.
Yeah, so I saw Flavor Monks release some tobaccos, so that might be something. Maybe we'll talk to him and see. Because if he's doing tobaccos anywhere near the way the liquors were, that'd be worthwhile.
You only have to sell your firstborn child to afford, a sampler pack, but they're
Well,
good stuff.
I helped him write his description for his cotton bacon competitor.
Okay, so you're in.
I'm in, yeah, because he's not native English, so he was just like, "Yo, can you make sure this sounds right?" I was like, "Yeah." Oh, yeah, we're phoning this in. This is what you get. This episode 45. We showed up. That's what we do.
It may not be much, but we're here. I don't know. You want to do something fun? I kind of want to test this crystal blue. I've literally never tried this stuff before, and it's supposed to be absolutely bizarre.
I think it's the base for like one of the best selling flavors in this like in the vape shop side for like medium vape shops is one called Innovape, INNEVAPE, and then it's Heisenberg. And I have a strong theory that they're just rebottling a European one shot, and I think that the European one shot is designed using Decadent Vapors stuff. So there's some pieces like, what do you see on it? What do you think?
It smells like peach, like an overripe peach in the bottle. Not like in a bad or moldy way, but definitely has some fruitiness to it. There's some cooling there, so we'll see how it actually vapes. The important thing is it's bright blue.
Yeah, UK is still like food flavoring colors still.
Like it's neon Listerine blue.
And we kind of gotten away from doing that on the US side just because we don't really, it doesn't add any kind of thing other than the visual. And there's also a little more risk to it. It's blue with some pineapple in the background with a bit of fuzzy peach note and some menthol.
Well, yeah, I mean it's cheating just to say that, but yeah, I think Jennifer nailed it. Yeah, it's pretty much. It reminds me a little bit of like a blue Hawaiian, like that stupid tiki drink. It does definitely have some like pineapple and like schnapsy kind of peach to it, and some cooling. Yeah, it's definitely not bad actually.
It's a Decadent Vapor, Pippa. It's and they're pretty good. I mean, like the flavors, like Christopher will sell his kid for dandelion burdock by the gallon. So, and then I literally have. It's one of those like ingredients that you like, use sparingly is the adder or rose because after I got a bottle, they discontinued. So then it's like I'll use it almost like a premium flavor. So if I've got a nice fruit mix and I want to add rose to it, it's just like a perfect rose flavor.
We've converted Jennifer to one of the dandelion and burdock zombies, so I'm gonna go ahead and be very happy about that. We got Apexified on board too. I'm telling you, dandelion and burdock is the best flavor available in DIY.
It's like root beer without any sugar or caramel. So it's like you like a genuine root beer, like a sarsaparilla almost. If you took away like the peppery side, so it's like the florals of a root beer almost. Do you agree?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's just bizarre and lovely, and it sucks they pulled it out of retail, but it's okay. I've got my 100 milliliters. The rest of y'all can screw off.
You could potentially take Flavora root beer, a dash of Cola Fizz by Flavor Apprentice, dandelion and burdock, and they have a sarsaparilla too that I have, which is like genuine sarsaparilla. If you could blend those four in the right way, you'd have a pretty good authentic. Because like there's root beer that you buy in a soda, like a soda shop, and then there's like shitty ass supermarket root beer, and they're not the same. So it's like this would make more of an authentic root beer.
Yeah, their sarsaparilla flavor is actually really, really nice. It'd be cool to see more people pick up a sarsaparilla kind of concentrated. It's interesting without being like too out there. It's just weird enough.
It would have less mixes than Dave's pickle recipe.
See, I'm just gonna start putting out all dandelion and burdock recipes, and like you can only buy it at wholesale at this point. So it's a problem.
Yeah, just do it for like a month.
So I gotta say, if that Heisenberg theory is correct, I don't see why you'd ruin this by putting anise in it. It's actually pretty easygoing by itself. It's remarkably pleasant for something that's neon blue.
See, I don't think that's it. I don't think it's it because okay, this is like one of those white whales because my buddy vapes his stuff by like 100 mil, and you can't even get it in Seattle, but he'll order it special from Florida. And then I met the owner of the brand, and he told me it's their #1 selling flavor, and it's in like 300 vape shops. And it's the best way to describe it is, well, #1, when you smell the vape juice like in the air, you know it's that, like without a doubt. You're like, this is Heisenberg. It has the lightest hint of like like anise flavor, but just barely, right? And then it has what you could call like blue raspberry, but not enough to taste it. It's the weirdest flavor. It is like, yeah. So Jen's saying there's 3 different Heisenbergs.
And Chris Drake, I haven't tried the Sasami Blue Alien yet. I bought a couple of Sasami flavors, and one of them was their gooseberry, and so it kind of delayed my continued Sasami testing.
Oh yeah, so Chris Drake said the Blue Alien by Sasami. That might be it. It's a strange flavor.
Yeah, Sasami's gooseberry is still one of the flavors that stands out as one of the weirdest things I've ever tested. It was like vaping sweeter tomatillos. It was very weird.
There is a flavor. Can't even remember. It's one of the. I don't know if Chef still has it, but it was called Quintessence, and it's like a grape brandy one shot, and it was really crazy. Like it was one of those. It's meant to be. It's basically like a one shot, but you wouldn't know it until you like get the bottle, and it says mix at like 14 or something, and it was good. It was strange, and I like that when I like vape a flavor mixture that I've never had anything like it. Because I mean, you get so over custard where it's like all close, you know, like strawberries, things like that. It's just like it gets repetitive. You know, bakeries, they all, you know, a lot of the times people are like overlapping each other and they're mixing. And then when you have a mix, it's just like nothing you've had before. It's really a cool experience. Like, you know, I never had Placid before, but then I mixed up, you know, this one Chris and I had put together, and I was like, damn, this is amazing combos. You know, like it's the honeysuckle, lime, strawberry, and then something else.
Wasn't it pear?
Pear, yeah. And that combo is just so intriguing. Like you vape it and you're like, whoa, this is totally different. Same with that Heisenberg one that they have here. And then, you know, they're just intriguing flavors that don't really match anything you've had. which I like that. You crazy, Jen. She's talking about pizza and chicken and waffles. So
More power to you.
I don't mean like that. Those are they did before you guys joined the chefs group. They had done a charity pineapple pizza vape challenge, right? And what it was is that if you put your name down, they'd send you this pineapple pizza concentrate sampler, and then you had to either vape it on camera or donate 10 pounds to charity, I think it was. And so for like 2 or 3 days, there's like 20 videos of people gagging, throwing up, trying to vape this pineapple pizza. And it's funny. It is very funny stuff.
Oh, so we had a question about DV's sherbet lemon. Their sherbet lemon, really good stuff. Actually, it reminds me a lot of Jungle Flavors Juicy Lemon and kind of that Capella Juicy Lemon. It's that same genre of lemon. It's a little bit more fleshed out, though. I mean, it's good stuff.
Will you guys be releasing one shots of your mixer series e-juice? I don't know what that means. What do you mean by mixer series?
Oh, I think they're talking about the actual mixer collection out of Canada, maybe.
Oh no. The mixers, those are locked in. We're just exclusive, nowadays. So you can get it where it is and that's it. So if you love the Wizard Labs ones, you can only buy those at Wizard Labs. Some of the recipe packs at Bull City are kind of flexible, but for the most part, those are I guess those are the only ones that you can kind of get around because they were just recipes that got converted. But even like the White Wedding there, that's the only place I'd put it. And then e-cig Express, those 7 different one-shots we have, those are all exclusive. And then this 28 series coming to Chefs is exclusive. So if you're in the US, you want to try one of them, you got to order from Chefs. It's only $7 to get Chef stuff, so it's worth it. Like you are literally going to Chefs. To me is like going to like Whole Foods. Like it's a fancy experience whereas like buying, Inaware, Wonder Flavors, all the stuff you can get here. You're kind of getting the usuals, if you will. But like even at Chefs, you can get like Inaware that you can't get here, like cherries and liqueur, which is my personal favorite. And it's just fun. It's cool to get a package of like crazy stuff you would never try. And it really helps inspire you if you're getting like worn out and mixing. It's like it is a nice boost for you to like refresh yourself. Like, all right, what am I gonna make with Capella vanilla custard today? Or, what am I gonna make with like rose and dandelion and burdock and all kinds of crazy stuff? So if you've never ordered from Chefs, you definitely should. And then it's like $7. And then the shipping time, I'm in Florida and it takes probably like 11 business days. So, within 2 weeks, you're going to get it. I like it. It's cool. You get like the fancy Royal Mail. It's just like, it's like a fancy package when it's cool to do stuff like that.
You get to feel all continental getting your mail from a different country. I'm on the West Coast, and yeah, I don't think it's ever really taken more than 2 weeks. I think one time it took like 2.5 weeks, but it's really not that bad.
You ever say Key Appeal, continental breakfast?
No.
So it's like a guy that thinks continental breakfast is like fancy as it gets, and they're like, "Sir, you get continental breakfast today." Like it's worth a watch because he's like yogurt from Greece, and he's like fresh banana, and like so he's like freaking out about the continental breakfast. It is one of their funniest sketches. And then it ends Shining style, where the dude's like, "Sir, you've always been here." he's just he's just living this repeat of the continental breakfast. It's funny.
I've always wanted to go to a hotel continental breakfast with like an ascot tucked in and just go really fancy with it.
That's it. That's what this is. It's like just totally over assuming that you're having the fanciest breakfast ever.
Any excuse to wear an ascot, though. Like, why? The ascot needs to come back in terms of fashion. I think Fred from Scooby-Doo wore it the best, and I feel like it needs to be a new fashion trend.
Yeah, I think I always have like Embassy Suites as my homeless plan. Like just the Embassy Suites key and breakfast for days, as long as you can. Oh man. Let's talk about prayer. Let's talk about this recipe you dropped.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I've been kind of in a whole like doing testing and working on projects and stuff since that sort of out of left field mixer of the year win. So I figured I would release something really, really accessible. So a sandalwood pink guava tobacco seemed like it fit the bill there. Uh,
Smells like incense, but in a good way.
yeah, no, it smells like incense in a good way. No, I just, sometimes you get those flavors that are good renditions of a flavor, like theoretically good, but they're just really difficult flavors. And for me, wood spice is one of those. I just wanted to figure out a way to use wood spice, and it kind of all grew out of that. I don't know. I've been workshopping versions of this thing forever. I sent it out to Mixers Club. I kicked a bottle over to Coke Can for some input on it. So yeah, it's a very, very highly developed recipe that tastes like incense. And I think it's one of my first recipes that I've made, I guess, beyond the remix of Gravity, that is really sort of more designed for mouth to lung vaping, higher resistance vaping, because you really don't want to sub-ohm wood spice. It just doesn't go well. So yeah, I've been digging on that versions of that recipe for a good long while in like a little tiny mouth to lung tank.
Oh, that sounds good. What's the guava? How does the guava come out in it? Like, are you tasting the grapefruit part, or is it just more like? Is it more like an accent to the tobacco?
It's definitely more of an accent. So originally what I really wanted was like a strong grapefruit flavor that was gonna sort of live in the top notes and like do a grapefruit zest thing really well. But with the steeping and with how aggressive the other flavors are, it kind of pushes itself into the background. I had originally tried like Flavor West Ruby Red Grapefruit, which is my other favorite grapefruit flavor, but that one is really top heavy too. And by the time the tobaccos were really ready to go in there, that one had faded out quite a bit. But the pink guava actually sticks around a little bit. It adds some sweetness, some body. You still get like some of those grapefruity top notes. It just, yeah, it's fun sometimes doing something that doesn't necessarily have much in the way of wide appeal, but it's one of the recipes that probably worked the most on, I guess, getting it ready for release.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I'd go ahead and, like vape sub-ohm really, because that, like, you hit flavor satiation really quick with that wood spice, and it just starts to get a little bit weird. But when you kind of put it in a smaller format, it's a whole lot more manageable, and it's been a good excuse for me to like make some high nic juice and mess around with like higher percentages of nic salt and stuff. The smooth vanilla, actually, like, I realize it's an incredibly expensive flavor, but that stuff really shows up in like mouth to lung kind of mixes, I actually need to get like some sort of pod system so I can test it, because I have this theory that like 0.25%, 0.5% of smooth vanilla is absolutely going to come through like loud and clear in a pod system. And I know that's one of the biggest, like, that's one of the biggest problems in developing for those things, is actually trying to get like clear flavors to come through.
Yeah, like on my girlfriend's starter kit, it's got these tiny little air holes that are like the size of a needle. And there's only two. And like you lose all kinds of flavor spectrum, where the smoothie, where it tastes totally different. If I was to vape it, it comes through cleaner, different. So it's something to think about when you guys are developing recipes, because, or even when you get critical feedback from somebody, like I've had somebody mix up a one shot and be like, "Nah, it's pre-steeped and I didn't like it." I was like, "Nah, it's not pre-steeped. You got to, so there's all kinds of variants where people can, not steep the recipe because they're thinking that, a one shot steeped. They could be on like a pod system, like Concrete was saying, and getting like 1/10 of the flavor you put in there. So it's good for you to have like a couple different devices. I know Jen always has, like, she has a little pod system that's refillable that she'll test on. Because if you're dripping, you're getting like the fullest flavor of the thing. But then it's also good to like throw it in like a smoke tank, because how many people have a smoke tank that are gonna be using the juice and judging it?
Like if your recipe can survive a TFV 12, it's pretty solid.
Oh man, like I remember when I was buying juice and I got like a TF, I guess a 4 at the time, and that thing would put down like 5 mils in like an hour or two. And I'm like, this is not gonna work. This thing is like just taking all my money away. Just vaping. That was the majority. I don't know. I guess there's some people that are like, oh, I want to DIY for the art of it, but I think a majority of the people are like, I can't afford to vape, and I don't want to smoke cigarettes, so I need to find something that's gonna work. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, when you're crafting your recipes, I guess, just go ahead and keep that in mind. I know that a lot of people who DIY and actually develop recipes use RDAs. And yeah, if you ever want a trip, like actually try one of your I can't talk today, intricately crafted recipes in one of those sub tanks, and just see the horrible, horrible shit that it does to all your layers.
Yeah, it's just you just don't even know. Like that's why it's important if someone's like bitching about your recipe, be like, well, what's your setup, or what's your nicotine, or what'd you mix it at? Because all those things are going to change all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten a little bit more conscious of that too. I feel like Jerry actually had like started putting in his recipes like, hey, this is exactly how I vape this, and this is how it worked there. And that's kind of the wattage range that's dependent on. And so, for some of the more like artisan, crafty, like funky recipes, I think it's definitely worth noting that kind of stuff, because yeah, you're going to be taking a completely different approach to development. If you're vaping, out of a 1.1 ohm eye care coil, you're going to get a completely different experience than just dripping directly on, like your single coil Hadley 30-watt like build.
Wizard Labs, go to One Shots. It's EJM. It's awful easy. It's in the top menu now, even, so you can just pick off the One Shots. YouTube's blocking links. New nicotine nic salts take longer to get in the mail generally, unless you're buying like they have a new shipping option where they're like pre-mixing it. And I don't know what it's called, but you can buy some that are pre-made. I would advise doing that because people end up waiting forever for new nicotine uh, batches that are like ordered because they wait till they get a certain amount of people and then they make the batch. But they have pre-mades now. They start at Christmas. And then Nicotine River, if you buy during a holiday sale, just expect it to get to you by the next holiday that's coming up.
Actually, I mean, I'll go ahead and do a little bit of shilling. So I was fully expecting I had to reorder my PG and VG from Nicotine River, and usually it takes me about 2 weeks to get one of their orders. And I'm on the same coast as them. Like I just ordered PG and VG just enough to hit free shipping, and I got it in like 4 days. So I don't know what they're doing over there now.
That's good. I don't know. I don't know about Nicotine River. They're so hyped, and I'd say from my experience, like Bull City has been the best at consistently delivering on time. So I kind of stick with that. And then I order Carolina Extract Nicotine, and then I buy my PG VG on Amazon because I have Prime, so I get it in like a day or two. So that's how I order stuff. So I don't really need to order from like a nicotine vendor. Um, I'll order from e-cig Express and Chefs for things. So I've never needed Nicotine River stuff. But then there's other people that are just like crazy about it. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them.
I mean, like real talk, I'm just happy that their VG and PG prices are actually pretty good. And with the free shipping option, again, I sound like a commercial, whatever. But turns out that 2.5 gallons of VG and 1 gallon of PG puts you right over the limit for free shipping. So, I mean, I got that shipped free and I didn't have to buy any flavors or anything. So that was handy.
Yeah, Rory's been kind of test ordering from Wizard Labs, and he's swearing by how quick he's getting stuff and kind of the just the delivery. So that's good. Yeah, I mean,
you got options, people. You got lots of options.
Yeah, it really just depends on, like, I'd say your first thing you should look at is your proximity. But it also depends on how you mix too. So if you're just like buying 100 flavors and you're going to use those 100 flavors for 12 months, it doesn't really matter. But like for me, I'll order flavor. Like I'll be on deadline sometimes, and like I need the flavor to get the mix, to get it steeping, to get it delivered. So I'll go for Bull City usually for that. But Wizard Labs being in Florida, they work. I order from them. But it's proximity. So if you're like a block away from one of these places, go with that first until they kind of like disappoint you, and then work your way out. Let's see.
So in terms of just quality of Nick salts, for who am I? Yeah, they're both good quality Nick salts. I don't know. I would lean more towards the Nick River Nick salts just because it seems to me there's less of that weird benzoic acid or like acidic base to them, and I kind of don't like the acidic base for Nick salts, so I lean more towards the Nicotine River ones, which don't have as heavy of like an acid to them. But that's pretty personal.
So I think we should do a whole set of those 1, 2, 3s. I think that's a good idea. And then I think we should expand the e-juice makers first 25 because they're both good projects. We just have to put a little work behind them. But now that we have like a team of 14, we could all nail out like 2 recipes each, and then that's 28 recipes with the ingredients. So we just have to revamp, the flavors because they're kind of old. That's the thing is like 25 of the first flavors you should get today are not 25 a year ago. And that's what you were mentioning on the podcast. It's like, speaking of that podcast, got a shout out from Pretty Matthew. That was awesome.
Yeah, no, he's a chemist fan, man. That was awesome to hear.
And that was cool for me because like that's vape side, that's commercial side. Like DIY is good, but like they're different worlds. Like, you can be great in DIY, but then not be able to cut it on the commercial side. So that was a cool thing to hear from him, is that because I sent him stuff before and like never heard back. So I was like, were they awful? Did I send him awful recipes? And like, he just was like silent. So to hear that he liked that stuff was great. That was a good one for me, because I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I like your 1, 2, 3s, Dave. I think we should do a whole set with the team and just release them for DIY. Just as a good starter kit. Coca-Cola donut. Don't put sweetener in it, Shindo. He's not a fan of sweetener. He says you should rework your recipe if you use sweetener. But I still do. I put sweetener in it because I like the effect. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was I don't know. Like, I'll again sound like I'm just fawning over the dude, but no, it was cool actually getting a chance to meet him. He seems like a really solid guy. It'd be cool if more people like on the commercial juice side of things were, a little bit more honest about where they came from in terms of like starting out. Like, yeah, no, somebody actually mixed these recipes. What you're doing is you're mixing recipes and then selling them. The biggest difference is the marketing, not even in a bad way, but the marketing, like thinking about a wider audience and then also getting everything packaged and getting all your compliance stuff set up. So that was really cool to see.
The maker of cannoli, I think cannoli B1. I think that's it. But he's got a big line and he lurks the DIY. You'd be surprised who lurks in these groups. They're just quietly watching.
Yeah, that is the sound of his balls in my mouth, Shindo. Thank you. Hey, I will totally admit to being a little bit starstruck, but that's cool. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? These are people that have been really successful at something that I'd really like to be successful at. It's hard not to get a certain level of like hero worship, going on, especially when they turn out not to be dicks. And yeah, that dude's definitely not a dick. So,
who else is like? I've got a ton of vape shop Facebook friends. Like pretty much the whole vape shop, the bottle line, other than say like the Cutwood guys. Like I got the 5 Pond, Cosmic Fog. So these guys that are doing the big stuff, and they're cool guys. They're just guys that like saw an opportunity and like went after it at the right time. And they're living the good life. They got in when they should have. These dudes are having good times. But I had failed at like a vape idea back in like 2000, I don't know, 11 or something like that. And I went and I found the email, and it was fucking the guy that made 5 Ponds had sent me an email, and he was like, "We'd love to meet with you," back when I was trying to do this other vape thing, because like he had family in town or something like that. And I was like, how cool is that? Like, even though I missed that opportunity, it was like, this guy turned out to be one of the major vendors, in America, selling like 5 million bottles and stuff like that. But I like to watch those guys. I like to keep an eye on what they're doing and kind of just see how they act. You just having them like in your feed helps inspire, but also just know kind of the industry. Like there's a guy, Greg Conley, and he's always doing advocacy. And then the guy that works with Phil Broussardo, Demetrius, he's good to have because he's always contending the science. So like when some stupid article comes out, he's dropping like links to other scientists that are arguing it back and stuff. So it's good to like have a nice network of successful people, you know, at least just to inspire you to do better and work a little harder. This chat
Yeah.
has gone crazy.
Yeah, no, it's completely off the rails. That's okay.
We let Graham in here. Who gave Graham a wrench? That
We're
happened.
doomed.
Yeah, we're doomed.
I don't know. I think there's two ways to kind of see it. You can see everybody as competition and you can get all pissy about it, and or you can take the good parts from people's like business models and outlooks and kind of see what works and incorporate that. You know, like as a DIY mixer, I'm obviously not trying to compete with any of these people, but it's good to know, you know.
It's because you're mixer of the year. You don't have to compete with anybody. You're the best one. They have to compete with you. They have to compete with you now.
There's more to a skill set of a good mixer than just making, you know, the best flavors. A lot of it is just reading the market, and I'll admit, like, I'm terrible at reading the market. And so if I could like actually pick anything up from these people about what people will buy, but also what people can be made to buy and what people can be made to enjoy with the right kind of presentation, I think that's huge.
I would say your public recipes are weird as hell. Okay. But the work that you do for us and the stuff you deliver for the one shots justify the Mixer of the Year award. That's what I'll say.
So what you're saying is I've sold out and I keep all the accessible stuff to make a buck, which, you know,
I'll say you have higher standards. You have higher standards when it comes to the one shot. When you're releasing recipes, you're like, hey, this is weird as fuck. I'm gonna put this up.
Hey, you know, and that's the thing. That's the cool thing about DIY though. Like all of my DIY recipes, I'd like to think focus on a nice trick or like something that, oh God, I'm going to sound like the most pretentious asshole. So, you know, like when you go get your PhD, right? The idea is that you do something that pushes knowledge forward, you know, that expands the actual subject matter. And I'd like to think that my best DIY recipes show off like a new trick that I haven't necessarily seen anywhere else. Whereas the commercial releases are more, you know, for producing a nice solid juice that people will actually like to vape without getting tired of it.
The thing that you did that I was like, this guy has to be on the team was not the flavor notes. It was that you made an apple recipe and you didn't use an apple. And when I saw that, I was like, I want this fucking guy on the team because that is out there. It's different. And it shows the challenge. You know, it shows that you challenge yourself to be like, it shows that you understand flavors so deeply that you don't need the name on the bottle, that you can craft something based on how well you know, right? And that's really where your like superpower is that you know not just the flavor name, but you know what the flavor really is. And not a lot of people get that. Like they'll take a strawberry and go by the name and then say, you know, this doesn't taste like a strawberry. But like you already are past that level where you're able to craft based on what the flavor is versus what the company says it is. And that's where your skill set is. You definitely deserve it. Anyone that thinks you don't deserve it doesn't know shit about anything. That's what I say.
Well, yeah, no, thank you. And that's why I really like DIY is I like DIY for mixing's sake, you know, and saving money is cool and all that. But like, if you're talking about, you know, do I need to DIY to come up with something that I could vape all day for cheap? Not really at this point. It's more just mixing for mixing's sake on the DIY stuff. It's really fun. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting, and it's not particularly well documented. And so it's an easy field to get into and feel like you're still doing like meaningful work.
Yeah. when did you do that apple recipe? Like round one of
Yeah,
DIY?
it was round one. So in round one, I'm sitting there absolutely terrified because there's 30 people in the round, and it's like, okay, well, it's a fruit recipe. What am I gonna do to stand out? What is the coolest thing I can do with fruit? And it's like, well, shit, I've been testing cherimoya and quince. They both kind of taste like golden delicious apples in the right light. Let's see what we could do here.
There, I got the link for it. It's badass. Cactus, cherry moy, and quince is how he made that recipe. Which is
And
awesome.
and the cactus is just there to help with the throat hit off the quince and the cherimoya. The one thing I'd really like to do with that recipe, the way that I feel like it's really limited, it's a lighter recipe, and I can't get to a fuller golden delicious apple by just cranking the flavors. It absolutely blows the balance out of the water. So I'd like to revisit that at some point, but yeah, I mean it's a neat trick, you know. I thought it was pretty cool.
The only reason at that time that I won that round was because they didn't see my name on it. Because I was not favored by said group at that time. I was still an outsider. I was the name that wasn't mentioned on that show. And that was such a victory for me in that moment when they're like, this recipe is amazing. And then they're like, who did it? And they're like, chemist. And they were all like, you could see the frozen faces, which was great. And then I bombed the second recipe because so in the second round, it was make a candy. And I had made this like chocolate brownie candy because it was like candy or candy flavor thing. And I made like some kind of chocolate brownie cookie thing. And then fucking Capella had discontinued the flavor. So then I had to like rush a flavor. And it just, the one I rushed was no good. I mean, it's still good, but it wasn't good enough to beat anybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. Those final rounds were a little hairy. I put out a couple recipes that I've slowly been like going back and revisiting and trying to do better versions of. Just because working in that kind of tight time frame, you end up with something that you're not necessarily happy enough with. But I mean, it was a great learning experience more than anything else.
You know what's cool though is that if you go back to that first round and you look at the people that won, half of the people that won round one are who our team is nowadays. And it wasn't on purpose, and I didn't pick from that list. It was different. Where like, you know, like to get on the team, you got to do a lot of stuff. Like, number one, don't be an asshole. Number two, consistently put out great recipes. And then it's more than that too. It's kind of like you have to mix things that aren't conventional, or like show your mixing skill in the recipes where you have like almost like a superpower, if that makes sense, or like what you're doing is different. Like Christopher, even back in the day, it was like his stuff was getting slept on like big time. Like people weren't giving him the credit. Like he was in every group helping all the time, but like his recipes weren't even being seen as much. And so it's kind of like you find, like I like to find people that are like either like kind of underdogs, not getting the shine that they deserve, and then putting more eyes on those people. You know, like Six Strings. Six Strings, when she came out, she released a Delios. I don't even know what the hell the thing's called. What's that brand for that? Is it Delios?
Telios.
Telios.
And her version was Delios, DIY Leos.
And like no one had ever heard of her. And she got heat to the point where she like quit DIY Discord, like deleted the post, quit the Discord because she got so much heat for being so like accurate on it, and then being like, well, you didn't make this. And then she dropped these. So then she like disappeared. And she would drop these recipes in Reddit that were crazy, like a corn pudding, just weird stuff. So then, like, I had her bookmarked, like her Reddit name was bookmarked, and I'd go and find when she'd drop recipes and stuff, and they were always crazy. But she's like someone that still hasn't really got the full on, exposure she deserves. Too Tall's really come around through the last year, where now he's like, he drops a recipe, it ranks high and stuff like that. But like, Chris DVR, he had a sleeper year, but he's a badass recipe maker. So like, those are all people that are like, kind of deserve more credit than they get. But it was really cool this year for the Mixer Awards. It was like the whole team. Like, he's like, fourth place Mixer of the Year, one of our members. Third place, one of our members. Second place, one of our members. Mixer of the Year, one of our members. I was like, yeah, e-juice makers. If we were a record label, we did all right,
We're like Death Row in '95.
Yep. We're kicking people in the face when they don't mix the song right.
Hanging people off balconies,
Suge Knight beat the shit out of somebody for parking his spot. I don't know. I guess that might have been in the Compton movie, but there's all kinds of stuff crazy.
So I feel like I need to, because we're going to be wrapping up here pretty quick. We're pushing an hour. There was a $2 donation. I just want to state for the record, this is probably the last time I'm taking my clothes off for money on a stream, unless y'all really start jacking that up. So this is for you, Leilani. Next time you're going to have to bring more money.
Oh. The heart has returned.
Okay, now I think this is worth more than $2.
You're drastically mistaken on your value.
Oh, you gotta believe in yourself, man. You gotta believe in yourself. So there's the heart right there.
That was made with a pen, folks.
It would be a better story if it was actually a prison tattoo. Instead, it's a normal one I just screwed up.
$100 for this prison tat?
Yeah, and that, kids, is why you don't go get tattoos when you are doing certain things that make you absent-mindedly itch without thinking about it. That's fine, though.
You're worth more.
Oh. Well, thank you very much.
I was
going to go money for the day, man.
You were going to go down the wrong road, but Leilani's positive support kept you going in 2018.
Yeah, right. This is why I DIY, to take my shirt off for $7 total.
And I will not be taking my shirt off for any price.
You can't afford the chemist.
Yeah. Put six zeros after. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. I hope the video's been stuck on concrete, because that's what I've been trying to set it as. So. They come for the DIY, but they stay for the shirtless concrete.
For the pure beef, the 100% pure beef.
Have a good Sunday, everybody.